Welcome to the Trip Tales podcast with me, Kelsey Graves. Let's jump into a new episode exploring a vacation destination that you'll want all the details about. Hey everyone, welcome to episode 27 of Trip Tales. Today we are going to be diving into all the details about a summer family trip to Nantucket and Boston. But first, I want to thank last week's buymeacoffee.com supporter, Kate Hinrichsen. Kate, who shared about her adventure to Sri Lanka on episode 26, bought me 3 coffees and wrote, "Thank you so much for letting me share our Sri Lanka trip with you and your listeners. I hope this episode will encourage people to go and experience the magic of this special place and enjoy it as much as we did. Keep up the good work. I love the podcast and look forward to listening each week." Thank you so much, Kate. That warmed my heart. And if y'all haven't listened to her episode about how her family unexpectedly found themselves in Sri Lanka on their first international trip, you've got to check it out because it is a great listen. Also, you can find that buymeacoffee.com link in today's show notes. Okay, let's sit back, relax, and go to Nantucket with today's guest, Allie Miller. Welcome, Allie. Thank you so much for being here.
Hello, I'm so glad to be here.
I start every episode with a rapid fire get to know you. So tell everyone where you are from, what you do, and about your family.
Okay, I'm born and raised in Nashville, which you don't hear of much anymore, and still live there to this day. I went to Belmont for college, so I really, truly am a Nashville girl. But then I have found myself into the world of fashion. I was a stay-at-home mom for 8 years and definitely loved that role, but also was super antsy and excited to kind of step out of that role when my youngest went to kindergarten. So I started working at a local boutique and really just fell in love with helping women find their fashion, especially post-life events like postpartum, even women who are going through menopause and body changes or certain health struggles. I love walking women through the journey of finding themselves again through their style and feeling confident in their bodies and really embracing who they are. And so fashion has been an avenue for me to do that. And I just am loving every minute of it. I'm with a team here locally called Be Styled Co. So I work a lot with women one-on-one. We do offer virtual styling as well for those of you who are not in the Nashville area, but it's definitely become a passion of mine and I'm loving it.
Yeah, and you guys have to look up Allie and Be Styled Co. And at the end of this, we'll share all the places to find them and we'll put it in the show notes. But they are some of my favorite follows on the socials because they give you super practical tips like you shouldn't wear this type of boot with this type of pant because it makes your leg look chunky. And I'm like, oh, that's why these boots never work for me and I need a pointed toe. And then it's like, bam, it looks a million times better. And it's not just about the like shopping and buying stuff. It's about feeling confident and feeling awesome about yourself and really making a lot of what they do is sometimes making what you already have in your closet work for you better and just filling in the gaps that you're missing. So y'all are going to have to follow them because they give me so many tips and I'm just like, it gives me permission to like shop and feel good about myself too.
Good. I'm so glad to hear that. And that's what I do love about what we do. I say to Blair, who owns the company, I say to her all the time, it's not just about, oh, look at me. I'm such a cute girl modeling these cute clothes. It's more about help, like giving you helpful educational tips and tricks that you can actually implement instead of that follow that's constantly just making you feel like you don't have one more thing in your closet. So
100%.
I'm trying to, it is a big goal of ours to help people really figure out how to utilize what they have and also pinpoint those key pieces that are missing to help really bring together what they have. So it's a fun process.
Yes. And especially for us mamas, because I feel like pre-kids, I loved, looking cute in the workplace and had, whenever I wanted something, I just had like the income to just go grab something or whatever. And then you have kids or multiple kids and
Yes.
everything gets put on the back burner. Like you need to clothe your children. You also just don't have time or money
Yeah.
to even think about like yourself. And then like years go by, your body has changed and you're like, what do I even wear? What is my style? These jeans aren't in style anymore. And so it's kind of like helpful for women who have gone through all of those changes to, have permission to feel good about themselves again. So
Yes. Well, I totally agree. COVID kind of did a number on all of us, and it made everything so much more casual because so many people now work from home and they don't need to get dressed up. So I always feel like women know how to be super casual, they know how to be super dressy, but
Yes.
they don't know how to do the in between. And so that's where we come in.
Oh
So
my gosh.
I know
I
we can talk all
promise we're
day
going to
about
get
this.
on vacation mode soon, but I always tell my husband I either look homeless or like $1,000,000. Like I could
Right.
really turn
We
it
can do
on
the
for like
extremes
a
really
wedding,
well.
but like I had to go to a PTO meeting and I was like, what do I wear to a PTO meeting? Like I feel like it needs to be nicer than my sweatshirt that I'm wearing for you today, which I did wear Nantucket red for
Oh,
you.
it's so
Um,
pretty. I love it.
but yeah, the in between is hard. So, anyways, we
Yes.
will move on to Nantucket,
Right.
but we could talk about this all day long.
Well, and I should mention a big part of my life is that I am a mom. I get mentioned I was a stay-at-home mom for a while, but I do have two boys who are 9 and 11. So I should, and a wonderful husband as well. So
Yes. Okay, this Nantucket episode couldn't have come at a better time because I am currently obsessed with Elin Hildebrand's book, The
yes.
Perfect Couple.
Okay, I
I'm
haven't read that one yet.
Okay, well, I've always loved her. And if you guys don't read Elin Hildebrand, she lives on Nantucket and
Mhm.
writes all of her books about Nantucket. So it just transports you to the island, and there's all this drama and fun and love and beach. And The Perfect Couple is coming out on Netflix this weekend with Nicole Kidman as the main character. And so I hadn't read it, and I was just like, oh, I'll grab this one because it's coming out. And it's my favorite one I've ever read. I've never read a book
Oh,
faster in my life. It's kind of thick. And I like every night on the couch, my husband's like, oh my gosh. But it's so, so
okay.
good. So I
Oh,
am like
so
going to
good to
soak up
know.
this episode because I'm like in Nantucket mode in my brain right now. Okay. So you went on this family summer trip in June 2024 with your husband and two boys who were what ages at the time on the trip?
11 and 8.
Okay. 11 and 8-year olds. And there are so many places to take a summer trip. So, what led you guys to choosing Nantucket?
I will say we kind of lucked into Nantucket a little bit. So my husband's aunt lives on the Big Island of Hawaii, and her life partner, fiance, he is a seventh generation Nantucketer.
Oh,
So
wow.
he lives on the Big Island of Hawaii, but has a home in Nantucket. So they kind of go between the two throughout the year. So
What
a
a
couple,
life. Hawaii and
I
Nantucket.
know.
Like, oh my
I
gosh.
know. So, I mean, I married well, getting that connection. So we went 2 summers ago to the Big Island and took the boys there. And then they said, okay, next you guys need to come to Nantucket. And luckily, we ended up working it out to stay in an Airbnb there. And it was awesome. It's a really new Airbnb. So they only have like 3 reviews currently, but it was amazing. It was on overlooking Hither Creek and had its own dock. The boys just lived out there. I mean, the water's really kind of murky in that little creek area, and it's just a couple feet deep, but they could like jump in the water and collect crabs and shells. And I mean, they were constantly just rummaging through the reeds and finding little creatures and things. And we just sat on the dock and lived the good life watching them, so it was one of those really truly relaxing times as a parent when your kids are occupied and they're curious and they're just exploring and you're able to just sit and relax. So
Yeah,
it was
in
wonderful.
nature within like a beautiful setting. So the
Exactly.
house was on the water in the sense that it was on the creek.
Correct.
Okay.
So it could, my, our uncle, he has a boat and he was able to bring his boat over and dock it at our dock there. Um, and so then we were able to take his boat out and go further on kind of in the ocean water, but it wasn't truly on the ocean front beach.
Right. Okay.
Probably save a little money that way.
Yeah.
But it was more towards the Nantucket side of the island. And that is a less populated area. It's really quiet through there. Mr. Rogers' house is just down the street, which was really cool.
Wow.
We got to see where he lived, but there's really the pros and cons of that area are it's super quiet, it's super peaceful, and it's super bikeable. There's bike trails everywhere. but there's also not a ton there. So there's really only one restaurant, which is Nantucket Millie's. They have got great ice cream. It's got a great, we did the first night we were there and we were tired when we first got there and we kind of just wanted to settle in. We got a big family pack of tacos, fish tacos, chicken tacos. Phenomenal. It was so good. And we just brought that back to the house and ate that on the beautiful porch overlooking the dock. And it was wonderful. So we loved being kind of outside of the hustle and bustle of the main city town area of Nantucket and just really kind of being able to explore and relax in that area.
Awesome. I see that you flew into Nantucket. So tell us how one flies into Nantucket because I was under the impression that you had to take a ferry.
I think a lot of people are because some people were surprised. I didn't know that you couldn't. So I just booked a flight there
Nice.
thinking that that was an option. So we did. We flew right in. It's a really small airport, super quaint and really cute. But we flew into Nantucket and then we have family there. So we didn't end up needing a car. They picked us up, but there's easy ways for you to get a car once you're there.
Do you feel like for people that visit there without family, having a rental car is needed or not needed? Like, how big is the island? Are you biking and Ubering, or would it be nice to have a car if like you were going there as a family?
You could do either way. I probably would recommend a car. Depending on where you're staying, you technically can bike everywhere you go. But with the age of our boys, I don't know if they would have really lasted from where we were staying to then get into town. I think that bike trip would have been a little far for them. Plus, I mean, I'm wanting to wear my cute Nantucket outfits and like get all
Yes.
fixed up for dinner. I'm not necessarily wanting to then hop on a bike to go. So I would say I personally would want a car. However, if you are staying more in town, you really can access almost everything via bike or walking. And the hub of town is super quaint. It's cobblestone streets and really walkable, the town itself.
Does it feel like there's one main area, or are there multiple little neighborhoody areas that you kind of like shop around and eat around, or is there like one main area?
So there is one main like hub, one
Okay.
main center, which is
Okay.
kind of like your downtown area.
Okay.
That's where I think they call it Billionaire Row, like all the mega houses, really historic homes are there. And then everything, there's tons of shopping, tons of shopping. I unfortunately have boys that have no interest in shopping, but I could have like been there for days just walking through the little stores. So what's really fun about Nantucket is everything's really boutique like. They only have a couple brand stores. But most everything is its own like mom and pop kind of shop feeling. It's not super branded. So I think they even recently got a Starbucks or something. Like they haven't even allowed places like Starbucks to come in. Like everything is very local. That part makes it really fun because you just find unique things.
I thought this was a fun fact that I read. The National Park Service cites Nantucket as being the finest surviving architectural example of a late 18th and early 19th century New England seaport town. That was kind of like a lot to say, but basically, like it's been cited as being the best example of what a seaport town looked like in the 18th and 19th century. So I feel like
Yeah.
kind of what you're saying is like that still hasn't changed. Like the cobblestone streets, the architecture of all the buildings feels very old world.
Exactly. It was funny when we got off the plane. My aunt, she looked at the boys and she said, "Okay, boys, our house is gray, so let's see if you can find it." Well, if you've been to Nantucket, literally all the houses are gray, and that's required. So they do the cedar planked houses are a requirement. Every house has to be the cedar plank house. You can tell if they're old or new by the weathering. So if it's a new cedar plank house, it looks like that kind of honey cedar color. But once it ages, it becomes that gray cedar
Okay,
plank.
yeah.
So that was her joke, was like all the houses are gray. You're not going to be able to tell which one is ours because they all look the same.
Oh,
So
wow.
it's interesting because everything does look the same. but there's also something kind of beautiful about it being so cohesive and
Yes, it has an
because of that.
aesthetic.
Yeah, it is a vibe. It definitely is. It was a little more remote than I was expecting. Like there's a lot of land that isn't developed.
Oh,
And
I wouldn't be
so,
picturing that at all. I would be
yeah,
picturing it like built like shoulder to shoulder houses.
right.
That's
No, and
so
even, and
interesting.
that's more of kind of the area that we were staying in. It's just like open land. And there's this land trust that they have established. And so a lot of the land is protected by the land trust and can't be built on,
Okay.
which is another reason why the property values are so high. I'm acting like I really know what I'm talking about right
Well,
now.
I looked it
So
up.
I
I was
might
doing
have
a
this
little
wrong,
research and I was
but
like, babe, guess how much the average house is on Nantucket? Like, like the average household 2.3 million is the average home price
I
for like a
mean,
family. I was like, whoa.
yeah.
So that means they
And
skew real high and a bit lower too, but still.
And part of it is because of the land trusts, there's limited amounts of land available. And a lot of the people who are really into Nantucket and wanting to preserve the everything about Nantucket, a lot of people end up even donating their land to the land
Oh,
trust
wow. Even giving
when
it
they
back.
pass. Yeah.
Yeah.
And so
Okay.
it kind of allows them to be able to kind of have more control over the dynamic and the aesthetic of everything.
And what area again was it called that you stayed in?
We stayed kind of more towards Nantucket. And so it's kind of this horn shape. And so we were on the western side of the island. And another thing that's interesting is kind of the interior curve that faces the mainland, like faces America. Mainland, I guess
Yeah.
Nantucket is
The
part of America,
States.
but you know what I mean.
Yeah.
The states, the contiguous states. Um, it that area of beach line is a lot more calm than the outward facing beach line that's really more towards the ocean.
Got
So
it.
that area is where we did go to the beach and you could see Tuckernuck
Hmm.
from the little beach where we were sitting. And I look at Tuckernuck clothes all the
Yeah.
time
The
for my
catalog.
clients. And I had
Right.
no idea it was an actual island.
I love it.
I'm
You're like,
sitting there
oh,
with my
that's where
aunt.
the inspiration comes from.
I'm sitting there with my aunt and she's like, that's Tuckernuck. And I was like that's
The
what the
store?
store's named after. And she was like, yeah. I was like, oh, I had no idea.
Would you recommend people stay in that area and like in that Airbnb if they like wanted more of a remote experience?
If they wanted a more remote experience, yes.
Okay.
We didn't venture more to the other side of the island. We just honestly just ran out of time.
Yeah.
We are the type of people we don't want to cram a ton in. We're not like wanting to see everything. We're wanting to just enjoy the experience. So we like the slower pace. We like a little mix of going into town and doing the fun things for an hour or two and then coming back and just like relaxing on the dock with a glass of wine and letting the boys piddle around.
Tell us what a typical day on Nantucket looked like for your family on this trip.
The first day we woke up and we kind of took it easy. Our aunt, she picked up some breakfast sandwiches at the Nantucket Millie's Market and brought them to us, and they were so good. But then we hopped on my uncle's boat and then took that. He kind of took us like on a tour of some of the areas that he knows. Again, he's a seventh generation Nantucketer. He
That is
grew
so
up
awesome.
like running through these beaches as a kid. And it was just so fascinating hearing him kind of give us a lot of history. Even the moorings, which are the little kind of parking places on the water, have a huge like wait list. So you really can only get them if you inherit them. So it really is such an exclusive community. If you don't have an inn or if you don't have like a family connection that where
Or
you get it
billion
passed down through
dollars.
the yeah, or like it's crazy. So anyway, it was really fascinating. He kind of took us on a tour, and then we ended up going to that little beach area that I was saying that was kind of facing Tuckernuck, and the boys just played. They caught horseshoe crabs. They caught all kinds of crabs. They caught little fish. The shelling was so much fun. I mean, they were in these really shallow pools of water. It was not heavy waves. Now, further down toward Nantucket, there where the Hither Creek entrance begins, there's crazy waves, but that's more facing outward at the ocean. So again, it really depends on your beachfront area where you're facing and what kind of water experience you have, because that water was, and it could have been the day there was a storm rolling in, but the water was so intense, the waves were so high. I've like never seen waves that high. So it can vary depending on where you're staying. We liked that little area because the water was super calm and the boys could just run and play, and I wasn't having to worry about them drowning.
And is that like a
So
public beach access area? Like
yeah.
anybody can go hang out there? And is there parking? Like,
Hmm.
how do you get there?
There is.
Okay.
Yes. So there was some parking through a back parking area. I wish I could remember what that was called. But there was a like a gravel parking lot and then some little stairs that led down to the beach. And so we could just carry what we needed down there. The other great thing about our Airbnb is they already had some of the beach chairs for us. They had shovels for the kids. They had everything we needed. So because we did fly in, we weren't able to as or either flying or on ferry, you can't take a lot with you to Nantucket. So
Right.
it really was helpful to have the Airbnb access to the things that we needed without having to bring them ourselves.
Yes. What are the things that you guys kind of like did throughout the days? Biking, anything that you guys did?
Yeah, we kept it really relaxed. We would let them piddle around on the beach, and we just enjoyed the quiet of that experience and just the chance for us as parents to just sit for a minute. And then we did do a bike ride several times. I highly recommend Young's bike rentals. They were amazing. We did pay extra to have the bikes delivered to the house where we were staying, and that was worth it because then
Well,
we
yeah.
didn't
How
have
else
to
are you going
figure
to
out.
get
I
bikes?
know
That feels
we would have had to have like the SUV try to put them in the back, but anyway, we paid to have them just delivered and they were there when we arrived in the driveway. They came with helmets for the boys. They came with locks and keys. So everything you needed, that was a great experience. And we did utilize that. We didn't take the bikes into town, into the main town, but we did ride the bikes down to Nantucket. And just kind of just got out and about just to exercise a little and just kind of explore. So there are bike paths everywhere. So if you do go, that's a really fun experience. It's a really easy way just to add another activity. And then we did get fixed up and then go into town to kind of walk around the shops and then also just like go eat some dinner. One night we did not plan accordingly and we kind of ended up moseying around. We didn't have reservations and it suddenly the hunger hit full force and we were in a panic to try to figure out where we wanted to eat. And we ended up just walking to like the most random pizza place that doesn't even have seating. It's a walk up and grab like a slice of pizza that's already cooked. We're like, just give us a few slices of pizza. And then we went and sat on a little bench overlooking the wharf, right where the ferry kind of comes and goes. And the pizza tasted so good. I don't know if we were just crazy hungry. I think it's called Steamboat Pizza. It's not anything fancy, and I don't even think it has great reviews, but it just hit the spot. And we all looked at each other like, this is what we needed. And it was so fun just to sit for a minute on the wharf and see the boats coming in and out and just enjoy the views and just kind of relax for a second.
That gave me chills because I feel like that is what vacation is all about. And I am trying to be so much better at letting vacation happen, kind of like you were
Mm-hmm.
talking about. Like, no, we weren't scheduled day to day. We didn't have like this tour that we had to set alarms for. Like, vacation should be relaxing for the whole group. Like everyone should be able to reset. And then sometimes those moments are the best. It might not even have been about the pizza. It's about the fact that you guys were like together in this beautiful
Mm-hmm.
place overlooking the wharf. Like it's so special. So that's awesome. I
Mm-hmm.
love hearing that. Hey, Trip Tales listeners. So, you all know how much I absolutely love creating content for Trip Tales, right? I mean, who wouldn't want to combine their love for travel and chatting with amazing people? But let's be real. As much fun as this is, travel content creation can be a bit pricey. From flights to hours of editing, while I juggle the chaos of being a mom of three, it's a wild but awesome ride. But guess what? There's this super cool website called buymeacoffee.com that was made specifically for creators like me and coffee lovers like, well, all of us. You can now support Trip Tales by literally buying me a coffee. Trust me, this busy mom could use a little caffeine boost to keep bringing you all the travel tales and tips you love. Plus, here's the fun part. If you do buy me a coffee, I'll give you a special shout out by name in the next episode. So, if you enjoy the podcast and want to support the show and my grocery bill, head on over to buymeacoffee.com/Kelsey Graves or click the link in the show notes. A huge thank you in advance for considering it and for keeping my coffee cup full and my mic on. All right, now let's dive back into today's episode.
Well, and I do think that that's what I learned most from the trip is you don't always know, especially when traveling with kids, what's going to catch their interest and what's not. And oftentimes what I thought would catch their interest didn't. And what they were really interested in really shocked me. So I think part of it is learning to let go. And I'm not good at this, but it was learning to let go of what my expectations were for the trip and what I wanted to do and just listen to like, what are they enjoying? What's the core memory for them in this moment that they're going to look back and I loved the ice cream. There's a great ice cream shop right next to Young's bike shop in downtown. It's super famous. Worth the wait for sure. But like those, they talk about the ice cream. For them, that was the magical moment.
Or just like playing around in the creek, like you
Yes.
said, like they just
Yes.
get to relax and run free like boys like to do. And you're like, we're not doing anything. We're just sitting here. But it's like, that's the magic of it. That's the beauty of it. That's so great.
Yes. So that was for us the biggest win. And as parents, we actually felt like we got to relax the most on that leg of the trip. We then went on to Boston, but the Nantucket portion was truly like rejuvenating for us as a couple and as a family.
In Elin Hildebrand's books, a lot of times, like people who have lived on Nantucket forever or who have family homes there will say, you just go to Nantucket, it heals you. It heals the soul, like something about the
Uh,
salt water in the air. It's just like a healing place. So that made me think about that.
yeah, it did
Um,
feel that way. I wish we had honestly spent more time there because I ended up loving it way more than I thought I would. And I didn't have all these bucket lists, like things to do there. I just got to be. And I
yeah.
loved that aspect of it.
Did you guys eat lobster rolls?
We did. I didn't actually. My husband and my son did. We ate that at the Straight Wharf Fish. It is kind of on the water. It's a new restaurant. It was really good. Beautiful experience.
Yeah. What other
I'll
restaurants
say
did you guys love or what were memorable spots for you
we were
guys?
only there like we got there kind of in the evening. So we did the Nantucket Market the first night. Then the next night we went to Straight Wharf Fish. And then the third night we got that random pizza.
Oh,
Like,
yeah.
so
Okay.
that was really the most food. And then we did kind of make our own charcuterie boards and things like that. My husband went to the grocery store that second day and we got some things just to kind of have around the house. But honestly, we got that family pack that first night from Nantucket Market, Nantucket Millie's lasted us like a couple days. We were able
Oh,
to make
awesome.
other tacos out of it. So we kind of made use of leftovers too.
Okay, what about strolling and shopping? Did you have so much fun? Like, I know you said you had your boys with you, but did you get to like fit in a little bit of the strolling and shopping?
I did. My aunt and I went around to a few different places, but I'm telling you, like, you can't go wrong. Anywhere you turn, anywhere you walk, there's a neat store. Tons of clothes, lots of cute little home decor things. And there's plenty of kind of the touristy sweatshirts and hats, things like that, that are all, marketed with Nantucket. I did buy Elin Hildebrand's new book, Swan Song, there. It's her
Yes,
last and final
I
book. So I
know.
bought that at the local
Oh,
bookstore that
that's
she writes
cool.
about in her book. So I
Yes.
feel like that was my little takeaway. But definitely a great downtown to just walk and not really have any plans, but just kind of let your eyes just go and see.
We have to talk about outfits from our style queen. Did you buy anything new for this trip or did you style what you already had? How did you think about your outfits for Nantucket?
Honestly, I styled several of the things I already had. I like to make most of what I have if I can. And really was so fun. I did get some new jewelry. Nickel and Suede is a jewelry company that I love, and they had some really pretty seashell
Oh,
earrings and things like
cute.
that. So I did get some nautical jewelry pieces to add to things that I already have. I wore a denim dress. I will say, okay, for all of you girls who have frizzy hair issues, like in the humidity of a beach, that happened full on. So I could not have these like really cute hairstyles that I thought as soon as I would fix my hair, it was like frizz from the salty air.
Yes.
So I did end up having to wear my hair back in a ponytail a lot, which I didn't love the feeling of that, but I tried to make it cute. So
You
I
had your
added like
seashell earrings.
I had my seashell earrings and then I added a bandana in my ponytail to like make it look cute. So there were ways I tried to work with it, but I think instead of fighting against what your body or your hair is doing while traveling, try to just embrace it and work with it. Otherwise, you're going to be really frustrated the whole time.
Yes.
So I had to just know that my hair was going to be curly and frizzy and I had to either pull it back or just know that it was going to be that way because if I tried to smooth it out, didn't it just made me angry.
That's a
So
good tip, especially if you're going somewhere with that like saltwater air. I still
yes.
remember this one family photo session my mom had booked and paid for a photographer on a beach. We were in Florida and it was hot and humid and sticky and saltwatery. And my sister and I spent so much time getting ready, curling our hair. I mean, the second we walked outside,
It's like,
flat,
whoop.
frizzy. The pictures are just like, why did we even get ready? That is such a joke. But it's a good reminder to like bring some cute headbands or some
Yeah,
cute like bandanas or
hats
scrunchies
or
because
things.
then you can just
Hmm.
pull it back and still make it cute. So
Yes.
that's a
And
great
I
tip.
did wear a sun hat a lot. I really like hemlock hats. And so I took those with us. My boys have those too, but they provide a lot of sun protection. My aunt's a dermatologist, so she like had me covered the whole time. And so yeah, I will say like just know that you're gonna have the frizzy hair and try to plan accordingly.
Did you guys experience the nightlife at all? Or since you had your kids with you, were you guys pretty much back home in the evenings?
Yeah, we were pretty much back home in the evenings.
Yeah.
But at night, my uncle did take the boys out horseshoe crab hunting one night because they come out at night. And so he took them out and there were like tons everywhere. So we kind of did like a night beach walk to look at those. That was a lot of fun.
Amazing.
One thing that really surprised us, this was all around, not just in Nantucket, but all around on our trip, even throughout Boston, how many places required cash? They were cash only.
That's
That
surprising.
really surprised us. And we were not prepared for that. So I ended up having to even bum off of our kids' money because they had like their cash with them for the trip. And so we're like, can I have some $20 or
Can
something?
I have your tooth fairy
Yeah.
money back, please?
So they're like, do you need some money, mom? So that really, really surprised me. But there were luckily, most of the places that required cash did have ATMs available to where you could go and use an ATM if need be. But I mean, that night we got pizza and set out and overlooked that pizza place required cash. And so
Wow.
we had to like fiddle around and find some. And then same with once we were in Boston, luckily our hotel had an ATM in the lobby. But I mean, that really threw us for a loop. We were not expecting that.
Okay, good tip. All right, we will move on to Boston, but if you had to sum up
Mhm.
Nantucket in just a few words, what would you say the overall vibe is?
Nantucket was a dream. It was rejuvenating. It was a feast for the eyes, and it was just full of exploration opportunities. I would just say it was overall loved by all of the family. It wasn't just one of us and got more enjoyment than the other. It was a love for each of us.
Amazing. Now after all my Elin Hildebrand and you describing it, I'm like, oh my gosh, I need to figure out how to get there.
It was,
We lived in Boston for 4 years.
oh, no way.
Yeah. So that we moved here to Franklin, Tennessee from Boston. My husband and I and our kids were out there for 4 years for one of my husband's jobs.
I didn't
But
know
it was so
that.
crazy because we had babies the whole time. We moved
Yeah.
out there with a 3-year-old and a 2-week old. And while
Okay.
we were out there, we had our third. So I just had babies the whole time. We
Yeah.
didn't know a soul. We didn't have any family. So it like going to Nantucket or Martha's
Yeah.
Vineyard just felt so hard like with all
Yes.
these babies that
Yes.
we just never did. We went to the beach a lot up north of
Hmm.
Boston where we lived, and it was a beautiful New Englandy area. But I'm like, we were so close and we didn't do so much. But I have done Cape Cod with my family. when I was like an adult child, like in my 20s, but I would love to take my kids and see some of this stuff. Okay, so let's move on to Boston. So you take the ferry from Nantucket to Boston. Tell us about that
Yes.
process.
So we did the fast ferry. I think there's two different ferries. The fast ferry, I think, gets you there an hour or an hour and a half, but it
Okay.
was fine. It was great.
Why would you
And
take a slow ferry?
I don't know.
Okay. Like, what's the
I don't
difference?
know.
Maybe it's
I
more
don't know.
enjoyable. Is it like, you get drinks
I
and relax?
maybe. I mean,
Okay.
it's
There are
more
ferry
fancy.
options. There are
Yeah,
ferry
there's ferry
options.
options, and it's not fancy inside at
Yeah.
all.
Some
But
of
we
them
were
take
able,
cars, though, right? Was this the one that takes cars too? The one that I feel like there are
I don't
ones I
know.
see
Maybe
people
that's the
post
slow
about,
ferry has
yeah,
to
where
take cars.
they're like driving
Yes.
cars on, which I'm like,
Yes.
whoa.
So we didn't have a car in Nantucket. I mean, our family did, but we
Yeah.
didn't have one that we used there. So we just took the fast ferry over to Cape Cod. And then so this was kind of logistically, things really worked in our favor, actually. So we got off of the ferry terminal, and right there, we were able to use Avis to rent a car. We had set up our car rental. So we got our luggage off the ferry, got our rental car, and loaded it right in. It was like in the same parking lot.
Oh, perfect.
That Avis hub was kind of hard to find, but it's inside the ferry building. Once you dock, you go inside that building, and there's a little person in there, and they gave us our rental car, and it was just right in that parking lot. So that was super easy to do that. Hopped in the car, and then we headed towards Plymouth. We wanted to do some of the, early settlers, pilgrim kind of sightseeing things there before heading on to Boston. This part of the trip, I'm so glad we did because we checked that box and we did that bucket list thing, but we will probably never do it again.
Okay, good to know. Why?
I will say it was so great. We saw Plymouth Rock. Then we went and did the Mayflower 2 replica tour.
Is it sitting on the water?
Yes, it's in
Okay,
the water.
cool.
Yeah.
Cool.
And I thought it was really interesting. I would say the disappointment in it was the guides, the people that are there to help explain, unless you ask them questions, they're not really engaging you. So you kind of just walk through and you're looking and you don't even know what questions to ask because I don't know what's what. So
Yeah.
sometimes it's hard to know what questions to ask. And I wish that they had a little bit more of a formal kind of tour throughout the ship or a little bit more of a guided experience versus we paid quite a bit of money to do it.
Hmm.
We just kind of walked in, kind of walked around, asked a couple questions, and then kind of walked off.
It
It
was like an
just felt
underwhelming experience for what you were
exactly,
picturing.
exactly. Of course, the boys just wanted to go to the gift shop the whole time. We're like, when can we get off this and go to the
They're
gift
like, this
shop?
is educational, guys. Plymouth Rock.
Right. Um, and so we got the picture of Plymouth Rock, and then we did buy the we bought the package to where then we could go to the English home site, the English village, and go to the Wampanoag kind of village that they used to call it.
I don't know anything about this. Did I learn this in social studies at one
What
point?
did they
Probably.
used to call it? The Pilgrim something.
We
But
can
now
look it
that's
up.
not, yeah, the Plymouth Patuxent Museum.
Plymouth Patuxent is a complex of living history museums in Plymouth.
Yes.
It kind of, oh
So
yeah, I see it. It like looks like old homes and stuff.
exactly. So there's this like English village that's set up what it's supposed to be like this replica of when the pilgrims came.
The early
And it's
settlers,
the
what it
early
looked like in their
settlers, like what they look like.
village.
Uh-huh. And the kind of funny part about it is they are all role playing. Like all the characters in the village,
I
they
kind of love
did
that. We've been to like homesteads like that before, and they're like cooking in the big pot. And yeah, I love
exactly.
that.
And they like cannot break character. But then again, in that section, you're also kind of having to go through and just ask them questions versus kind of being guided and being told things. Um,
They're like, where's
so
my tour?
right. Well, and what was interesting, so that whole museum area, that whole section, then there's the Wampanoag Village. In the Wampanoag Village, there are people just there at the like little domed home site to just explain what it is, but they're not acting like a
They're not in
wampanoag.
character. Yeah.
Yeah, they're not in character. That
Are
part
those
was
the Native Americans, the Indians that
yes.
you're saying? Okay.
So
Okay.
so that's the Native Americans that were in the area when the Pilgrims settled. That was who they were.
Okay.
That was our favorite part. The Wampanoag village was so fascinating, and the people there just started explaining all these really interesting information about how they got their food and how, I mean, the way that they were so advanced and knew about our bodies and how they needed to turn the land to like make things grow. It was so fascinating.
Yeah. It's like
That
we've gone backwards. Now we're eating
I
Lucky Charms.
exactly. It really, I mean, that part was really interesting.
Yeah.
And so that section, that little section of all of it was our favorite section. The
And
people
was
there were
this
just
one
really
whole
knowledgeable.
ticket? Like, did you buy
Yeah,
one?
I
Okay.
bought a packet to be a pack to be able to do all of it.
Okay.
There's also a grist mill. We did not go to that. Um, and I kind of felt like the boys really loved the Wampanoag village, but the whole rest of the experience, we were kind of dragging them through. So that part, I could take it or leave it. I'm glad we did it. I also would not go out of my way to do that. So if it isn't something that you can easily incorporate into your trip, I wouldn't go out of your way for it. So then from there, we hopped back in the car and we drove to Boston. So this was all in a day, leaving Nantucket, driving through Plymouth, and then getting to Boston. Our rental car was through Avis, and we had an Avis station literally like a block from our hotel. So we stayed at the Marriott, which overlooks the wharf, right in the smack dab center of Boston. It was the prime location. And that Avis location was so easy because we were in a lot of traffic coming into Boston. As you know, having lived there, like
Driving in
Boston's
Boston
traffic
is
is
insane.
terrible.
Not even the traffic, it's the fact that the roads make no sense at all. Every
Yeah.
time I had to drive in Boston, the map doesn't even work. Your map like loses its mind and every road is going every different direction and I got lost every single time I tried to drive in downtown Boston.
That part really surprised us of
Yeah.
just the traffic. So we had a lot of traffic going in. We were going to kind of drop off all our luggage at the door of our hotel, and then my husband was going to go return the rental car. But we ended up like cutting the like time so close that I was like, we'll all drop it off together and then we'll all just walk with our luggage to the hotel.
Yeah.
So because we were worried we weren't going to make the cutoff for the rental car
You have to
return.
like pay for a whole nother day or something. Yeah.
Exactly. So we ended up just going as a family to like drop off the rental car and we all have our like luggage. But it was so easy. And even that logistical, what could have been like a logistical nightmare or a shift in our plans, it was a block from the hotel. We easily rolled our baggage there. So yes, note to self, have rolled baggage. And everybody kind of had their bag and we just easily walked to our hotel and got settled in really, really easily. So
Amazing.
that
And how was
logistically
the
worked well.
hotel? You guys were very smart with all the Avis booking. That was very smart. How was the
Yeah, that was my
Marriott on the
husband.
wharf? Good
Loved
job.
the Marriott on the wharf. From a location perspective, it was the best. We booked it because it had a pool.
Perfect.
And it was one of the few hotels in the city that had a pool. We also wanted to book through Marriott for points. And
An
I
indoor pool
an
or
indoor pool.
okay, yeah.
Yep, indoor, and it overlooks the wharf as well, which was really pretty views. And it was close to some of the excursions we did. It's kind of that hub for where all the different tours meet, or just right out the front door of the Marriott. So it really was logistically an ideal place to stay. The hotel was great. The boys loved the sparkling water machine in the workout room that was right by
Yes.
the pool. And so that was fun. But I will tell you, the best part of the hotel was the pool. Not that the pool was fancy, but that is the only thing my boys wanted to do. We were in this wonderful city that they've never been to
Hmm.
before with all these amazing things to go and see and do. And they just wanted to swim in the
Yeah.
pool
And
the whole
that's where
time.
you as a mom are saying, okay, this is their trip too, and we're going to give
Yeah.
them some swimming time.
So that's just where we took out a bottle of wine.
Yes.
We sat down and we're like, all right, we're just giving up a little bit and we're just
Yep.
letting this go. And at least we can relax and enjoy it for a
And
second.
maybe they'll sleep a little better if they burn some energy in the
Exactly.
pool.
Yes.
Okay, tell us about some of your priorities in terms of the things that you did in Boston. What did you guys get into?
So in Boston, we did the Boston Trolley tour one day. Honestly, had a negative experience with that. It's supposed to be, it's like a 3 hour tour, and it was not a 3 hour tour. We got stuck in traffic for like
Uh,
3 hours, and
uh,
it's supposed to be, I think it has close to 20 stops
mm.
throughout the time, and we only got through the first five in like
And
three
are you
hours.
getting on and off at these stops or no?
You can,
Okay.
but we didn't get off because we're like, oh
You
no,
hadn't
this is
seen anything. Yeah.
exactly. And we're like, this isn't good. Like we were just in track. So we kind of got away from the hotel. We finally got back to the center of town, and then we got off as quickly as we could, and we didn't get back on. So we only made it through five stops and did not.
Oh, what a bummer.
Yeah. We
That's a good
bought
tip, though. Maybe Boston just has too much traffic for a bus
It
tour.
does. And we didn't realize that. And if
Yeah.
I guess if you do the bus tour, do it first thing in the morning. We waited till the afternoon, and that's just when traffic is at its worst. But we did not have a good experience, and I would not do it again.
Tours are tricky with kids too, I'm learning because I think, oh, this is a great way to see it all.
Yeah.
So that, and then we can pick and choose what we do later. We did a horse and carriage tour in Charleston with our kids. And I was like, this is such a great idea. And they were bored out of their minds. They were
See?
like, when are we getting off? And I was
Exactly.
like, sorry. And I think if it had just been me or me and my husband, maybe my mind would wander and I'd get a little bored here and there, but I'd enjoy the ride and the scenery. But the kids just don't do well on those tours.
No, they didn't. And it was hot. It was unusually hot for Boston when we were there. And so they were just like, when are we getting off of this thing?
So
It
then
was
you guys just called it and got off
Yeah,
after
we were
five
like, we're getting
stops.
off and we're
Yeah.
not getting back on. Like this is
Okay.
done. Because and I don't know how long it would have taken for us to like complete the whole tour. But
Yeah.
anyway, we did buy that trolley tour in conjunction with the Boston Tea Party experience.
Okay. I've done this and I liked this.
Okay, so of all the history things that I was trying to like really get my boys into, this was the one thing that they were hooked the whole time. They loved it. We also met up, our neighbors happened to be in Boston the same time. And so we met up with them and did that experience with them. And it was awesome. It was definitely worth it. But when you go to check out to buy the tickets for that, I do recommend buying those in advance because the show times do kind of book up. But when we bought that, I added on the trolley tour. It gives you that option to kind of buy it as a package. So don't do the
Don't add the
add-on,
trolley.
just do the Boston Tea Party experience. But it was awesome. We, the adults, enjoyed it and the kids enjoyed it. It was entertaining and they really kind of captured you throughout this whole storytelling process.
Yes, for listeners, this is like an actual boat that's kind of off one of the main bridges in downtown Boston.
Mhm.
And kind of like you were saying about the Pilgrim Village, they like don't break character. You think that they're these like colonial people that are talking about the Tea Party and England and the taxes, and you go on the ship and they recreate the whole thing and they have the kids like throwing the tea overboard,
Yes,
like these pretend tea barrels. And it's just a really fun and immersive experience that
exactly.
ends up being educational because they're telling the story, but it's fun. So I
Mhm.
definitely recommend booking that, book it ahead of time, but it is a great experience for kids and adults too.
And that's what we wish that the Plymouth experience had been more like that because it just immersive was that's a good word to use for it. They just really engaged you in it. And more so in the other experiences that we had.
And it's kind of
Um,
like a one and done, or not a one and done, but it's like efficient. Like you're not there
yes,
forever. They kind of get
correct.
you in and out within an hour, and you're like, that was
Yep.
fun, and I learned a lot, and it's like good
And
check the box
the
tour.
boys loved it. So, and then afterwards, we ended up going down the street and just finding Big Deck Energy. Let me say that slowly.
What was this?
It's a restaurant
Okay.
that has like this circus tent. It's just like right around the corner from the Boston Tea Party experience. We didn't plan to eat there. We're just like, let's walk around and find somewhere to eat. Ended up there and they had great seafood. It's kind
Did
of
the
right on the
kids get
water.
the double entendre, or did it go
And
right
they,
over their heads?
it went right over their heads.
Okay.
But of course, the parents, we were there with
Yeah.
friends. We like really made full fun of that.
Yeah.
But that was great. We loved eating there. And so if you do go to the Boston Tea Party experience, that's a really easy place to go walk and have lunch afterwards. Okay, so the next day that we were in Boston, I wanted the boys to do the Freedom Trail. My husband he and I had done it before on a trip to Boston just by ourselves. He was like, they will not last through a tour, so don't you dare book a tour. So I downloaded the app where you could do the audio tour and tried to play that along as we walked through parts of it. And it was a fight. It was a fight. I don't know. Maybe our friends that were also there, their son is a history buff, and they said he soaked it up. They did the audio tour. He loved it. Our boys, my oldest son was like, Mom, I already know this. Even we get to the Boston Massacre site, and I'm like, this is where he's like, I already know about the Boston Massacre. I've already
You're
heard
like, but
about
this
all
is where it
this.
happened.
I know. I'm like, but look, this is the site. I'm like, please just take a picture with me. So
Yeah.
there just wasn't this sense of an appreciation the way that I hoped. But I am glad we kind of walked parts of it. We went through Quincy Market as well, which that is full of wonderful eating places and little craft areas and really cool market to walk through and just grab a snack here and there or a little fun treat. But there was like a street entertainer out there doing this big pogo stick entertainment show, and they were just enthralled with that. So I just got to laugh the whole time as here I am, like, look at these historical landmarks. And they're
Yes.
like, wow, look at that guy in the pogo stick. A couple notes about Boston. It is so clean. It is so, so clean. A beautiful city, very well kept. You feel very safe the entire time. Walking around, it's very, very walkable. So once we were there, we did not miss our rental car at all. We were able to easily walk everywhere. We loved being able to walk to the Little Italy area for dinner. We did that a couple nights.
That sounds
Um,
fun.
and so one place we went was Cafe Amaro. That was great. We got some pizzas there and a charcuterie board and did a little Amaro tasting. And then Mike's Pastry is a very, very famous pastry shop there, known for the cannolis and things. But that, I feel like Mike's Pastry is a little overrated. I don't know if you would say the same.
I haven't been there, I don't think.
Okay. We ended up going down the street. Someone gave us the recommendation to check out Cafe Paradiso for their gelato, and that all was delicious. Their gelato was so good. And then one afternoon, we ended up walking and getting Italian sandwiches at this. It says Salumeria Italiana, Italian specialty grocer, and it has this sign that says Boston's best Italian grocery on the front. And so it's this little kind of Italian market with all these like meat cuts, and they do make sandwiches, Italian sandwiches in there, and the sandwiches were phenomenal. So we got a sandwich and ate it just kind of out on the street, and did do a tour of Paul Revere's house. So Paul
Oh,
Revere's
nice.
house is in the Little Italy neighborhood, and it is not expensive. And the boys did enjoy that. It's not long. You can probably get through the whole experience in like 15 minutes. So a real short, sweet. You can kind of say you saw it, and that was fun for me.
I'm assuming since you had booked the bus tour that didn't go so well or the trolley tour, you guys didn't do a duck boat tour.
We did not, but I had a couple people recommend it.
Yeah, so I just wanted to say for listeners, if you are trying to fill some time with something, and the duck boat tour is a really fun thing for kids and adults. And when people would visit us when we lived in Boston, we were almost an hour north of Boston, but we would book those. And because it was a fun way to see, you're on land and in the water, you get a little bit of the tour, but you get out on the water. So that's kind of a fun way to
You
do a
can
tour
probably
without it being.
get on the water to escape all the traffic and
Yes,
like get around
exactly.
things too.
Yes. Exactly. So the duck boat tour is fun. And then also they have a really good children's museum, which is right downtown as well, which we hit up a handful of times. Your boys probably would have been a bit too old for it. But if you go with littler kids, there's a children's museum and a science museum. So there are other options downtown if you're not feeling all the like freedom America stuff.
Yeah, those are great points. And the Marriott where we stayed was right next door to the aquarium.
Yes, in the
Um,
aquarium.
and so I did hear, I think, yeah, our boys just didn't really want to do that. So we kind of skipped that. But
Yeah, it's not my
if you
favorite
have
aquarium
younger,
in all the
okay.
world. I just feel like it's small. People really love it. They always talk about the New England Aquarium, but I just remember
Huh.
being like, it was small. There's like a nice penguin exhibit in the middle that people really like. But other than that, I feel like it's a little small. But anyhow,
Okay. Like you said, I feel like our boys are just kind of aging out of some of those things a
yeah.
little bit. So if you have younger kids, definitely that was easy to access from where we were staying. One other excursion we did was the Boston Harbor City cruise, the whale watching cruise.
Oh, fun.
So that takes you out. It's about an hour to get out to the water where the whale watching happens, and the whales are active, like humpback whales and another kind of whale are active more in the summer in that area. So it was a perfect time. We were there in June, end of June, 2024, but that's the perfect time to go whale watching. And we had issues with the boat we were on. The engines didn't work, so they had to
You
transfer
guys
us to.
had tour
I'm telling
trouble.
you, our tour troubles were oh, they yeah. Now that I'm repeating this, that really was bad. But we ended up having to go to another boat, and so then we got less time out on the water. They took us to a different area to see whales. So we did see whales, but it was hard for our boys visibly to see because all these adults are standing kind of in the
Yeah.
way, and you can't lift them up and put them on your shoulders. You're on this boat. And anyway, that, and then my one son got a little seasick. So
Oh,
it's just, that was a little underwhelming. However, again, we got to see whales out in the ocean in real. So, I mean, it was a cool experience, and I'm hoping that they remember it.
did you guys think about trying to go to Fenway?
No, but our friends did, that our neighbors did, and they loved it. And they said, "We wish you guys that they had a game that night that we were driving into Boston. They're like, we wish we had thought to coordinate with you guys. You guys should have come with us." They said it was awesome.
Yeah, I would say that's
So highly
another fun
recommend.
thing to do with like school age kids if you find yourself in Boston would be seeing if there's a game at Fenway because even if
Mm.
you don't get like the best seats, you can get, peanuts and a hot dog and they sing, is it Sweet Caroline at like the at some point and it's just a fun
Experience.
experience. Is there anything else from your notes that we didn't talk about from your time in Boston?
I cannot stop this conversation without mentioning Tate.
What is
You,
this?
oh, Kelsey. Tate is this. I
Spell it.
love.
Spell it.
I'm probably saying it wrong. Tatte.
Okay. I have no clue.
Tate. I've been saying tate. I don't know if that's how you say it or not, but it's kind of like the Starbucks of Boston. It's a coffee shop, pastry shop, bakery, that is on every corner pretty much. There's
I
many
don't know
of them
how
in
I
Boston.
missed this
I
while
know.
I lived in New England.
There's so many in Boston, and I think there's also a lot in DC, but then that's it. They're not all over the country. And if they somehow hear this podcast, they need to put them everywhere because they're amazing. I love baked goods. If you know me, you know that is the way to my heart. And so they have the most delicious pastries and like desserts and coffees and sandwiches. I mean, it's like a Panera times a million. Like it is next level.
Like, what are some of the things you got that you just loved?
Oh, we ordered muffins. We ordered, I mean, we ended up with like many plates. Like we're that family that likes to split everything. So we'll order 6 or 8 of stuff and then cut them into fours. Luckily, we only had 2 children, so we can easily cut things into 4 pieces and we each try a bite and then we talk about what we liked and didn't and how we would rank each one as what's favorite. Trying to think of which one was my favorite. I mean, they have like these like chocolate pastries, an almond croissant. They had this chocolate dome.
See, you guys did your own Tate tour. Who needs all these
We
tours when
went,
you're doing your own?
we went like 2 or 3 times.
I love it.
And that was by far the best food that we had in Boston. A couple things that I kind of learned along the way. We ended up packing Nalgene water bottles. And I liked those just because they were a lot lighter. And my boys, I got them each a fanny pack on Amazon. So they kind of were responsible for some of their little things like their wallets or
The cash
they
that you
were
needed to steal from them.
exactly. Exactly. And luckily they had it on them. And then they were able to hook their Nalgene water bottles. I got like the smaller size. So they were able to hook those on the fanny pack. So they were hands-free, but then it also made me hands-free. So having those Nalgene water bottles were great because they were just easily refillable along the way and they were light.
Super smart. Yeah, we're kind of moving on. We love a stainless steel cup or bottle, but the last time my husband had them all in a backpack, he was like, no more. They're
Too
so
heavy.
heavy, especially when they're
Yes.
filled with water. So we've started to move on to plastic for travel too, because it's just easier.
I loved for my travel bag, Mandarin is a bag that I love. I actually have a discount code for them, so I can give that to you
Yeah.
to offer everybody.
Yeah, because I've actually been eyeing those bags. I get served the ads all the time.
Oh,
I love the look of the like leather side satchel.
yes. It's a great kind of elevated belt bag. So it doesn't look like the Lululemon athletic version, but it still can be worn casually. It's not necessarily dressy. Sometimes I'll just put it on my shoulder to use as a shoulder bag if I don't want to have it across my chest. But a great travel bag. It's got easy access to your phone. You don't have to worry about things getting pickpocketed. It's like right here. And I have a lot of clients who take that on European vacations and rave about it.
Okay,
So
we'll put, if you don't
highly
mind, we'll put
recommend
your
this.
code in the show notes and people
Yes.
can snag those. Yeah. Okay, Allie, I end every episode with, if someone out there is considering this trip, what is it about Nantucket and Boston that would make you say, just book it?
If you are looking for a mix of relaxation combined with learning and having a little bit of a go, 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 it's a perfect combination. It's a great way to experience nature and relaxation, and then also get a little bit of that fun city history all in one.
I love it. Tell everyone where they can find you if they want to follow along with your amazing styling tips.
On Instagram, I'm at Allie S. Miller. Also at Be Styled Co. So I'm one of 5 stylists now with Be Styled Co. But you can also follow me individually.
And I will link both of those in the show notes. And now I've got to go finish my book, The Perfect Couple, and watch the Netflix series. So if you guys are craving a little Nantucket, you can watch The Perfect Couple on Netflix, which is set in Nantucket, and see all these things Allie's talking about.
This
Well,
was so much fun, Kelsey. Thank you
thank
for
you
having
so
me.
much for being here and for sharing about your family's time in Nantucket and Boston. That wraps up another episode of Trip Tales. If you have a trip you'd like to share about on the podcast, email me at triptalespodcast@gmail.com and I'll add you to the schedule. Also, be sure to follow the show so that you don't miss any upcoming vacation destinations. And if you have an extra minute in your day, please leave a review for the podcast. It helps more than you could imagine. Thank you so much, and I'll see you on the next episode of Trip Tales.